wholeness includes the icky stuff, and we all have it. And so there's no point in arguing whether it's there or not, because it just is. Whether or not we act on it is another question. But we're much more likely to act on it, like what you're saying, if we're activated. So, like, let's talk about this stuff. And if you can't talk about it, that's fine. Like, I couldn't talk about it. But ripping paper up, especially paper that's your own materials, like, let your materials tell your story for you. Because
Mhm.
I would like hedge it, I would fudge it, I'd make myself sound a little bit better, but I always knew that I wasn't quite telling the truth about something I said or did. And so I was living with that secrecy or shame, or like I'm pretending to be somebody I'm not. And so whatever love or affection or acceptance I received, I could just dismiss because it
Yep.
wasn't the real me.
Do you ever feel like no matter what you do, it's not good enough? Like perfect is the only standard, but you're still left feeling behind? Perfectionism keeps us stuck. It robs us of peace, of our joy, and the freedom to just be. That's why I created Beauty of Imperfection, Good is Enough, a guided workbook to help you let go of the pressure, quiet your inner critic, and start celebrating progress over perfection. Inside, you'll find tools that remind you your worth has never depended on being perfect. It's time to embrace the beauty of imperfection because good really is enough. Let me remind you, you are always worthy. You already are. Get your copy of my workbook today. Emotionally unavailable. Okay. So I don't know a lot about you. It's so nice to meet you. I was just looking at your Instagram again and I was like, what a fucking cool concept. Like, let me see if I've gotten this correct. Cause I haven't done like a whole lot of digging because that's not really who I am. Um, are you taking other people's stories and making art out of them?
I do that. That's a commission. When
Yeah.
people, so I can do that as like a healing by proxy kind of thing. And mostly I do both, really. It's not a mostly, or people do it for themselves and I guide them through the process
Oh
in
my
a, like,
gosh.
as like an adjunct to a wellness retreat or a medicine journey or a breathwork thing. It's a way to embody, anchor another, like new pathways.
Yes. Wow. Dude, I'm really impressed with this. The artwork you're posting is fucking gorgeous too, by the way. But like, I don't know. I think what's calling to me, and actually, why is this making me feel emotional? I don't know. But what's calling to me is the fact that I went 43 years thinking I had zero creativity, except for like I knew I was a good writer
Uh-huh.
and I'm decent at singing, but like
Mhm.
any sort of art ability was like stick figures weren't even cute. You know what I mean? Like, and I have come to find some creativity through like I did some children's books, but like mostly I haven't done a lot of art. Now I have done a couple of the little sipping shit, where you're
Uh-huh.
getting shit
I love
faced
those.
and whatever. And I did better at that than I thought I would. But I think one of your posts about like what saying I'm not creative actually means, I was like,
Uh-huh.
ugh, attacked, shots fired, you got me, you got me. Because you know what? I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust myself to create. And I've seen this in my own children. And I think
Uh-huh.
one of the things that's making me emotional is, do you like how I'm just commandeering 5 whole fucking minutes of a conversation? Good God, Melissa. But like my daughter has started to like allow herself to just go with the process and, like whatever. So I'm like, oh, good for her. Anyways, sorry. I'm super moved by your work. So
I
how did you get into this?
So first of all, I really want to back up. And you said you're not
Yeah.
creative. And you listed like, and I'm digging for chapstick, you listed so many things that are 100% creative. And whether you like it or not, stick figures are still creative. Writing is absolutely creative. Singing, are you kidding me? I wish I could sing. I actually like cannot sing at all. I'm completely tone deaf. And it keeps me from singing a lot of the time, unless I'm totally alone and like driving at high speeds and high volume,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's the ways in which we learn that we can't or shouldn't is so sad to me, and I really want to disrupt what what's good artwork anyhow. Like if you feel
Yeah.
something, it's good artwork. If you make something, you're an artist. I am no different. Like somebody, because it's so subjective. Some people think I'm really talented and other people think I'm not at all. So
Okay, yeah, that's a fair
it,
point.
and so what does it mean to make art? And I don't make it for other people. I am always making it for myself. And I think
Yeah.
that in so the viewer, like if I'm making it for myself, there is no thought of the viewer when I'm making it. That comes later. And people, when they come into my studio, because I left galleries, but when they come into my studio, they either run for the hills because my work terrifies them, or
Yeah.
they stay for hours. And so like it's a very personal thing. You either respond to it and something is waking up inside of you. And if that's my work, awesome. If it's somebody else's, great. Like it doesn't mean it's not good work. I know what I'm partial to, but when I was like, oh, that's bad because I don't like it, I'm like, who the hell am I? Right. And same with people who say who should have, who gets to say where artwork is displayed.
Well, and that is such a beautiful point, and I think what's coming up for me right now as you talk about that is truly, like, even with singing,
Mhm.
um, like, I don't wanna make my ex-husband sound like a super dick, but, like, one of the things that he did was kinda I'm gonna put it this way because it's how it felt, but, like, took my voice because it didn't sound the way he preferred for sound to be, and so he kinda, like, talked shit to me, like, "Would you stop?" Whatever, and then, like, I didn't get that back until I started doing karaoke near the end of that marriage. And a friend of mine was like, "What the fuck are you talking like, what? Like, this is your American Idol moment when you karaoke." Like, I'm a karaoke star. I can do karaoke great. I'm not like, I truly am not just saying this. I don't believe I could ever be, like, professional, but, like, karaoke, we got this, and I love it. I love to sing, but for so
Yeah.
long, because he didn't approve, I didn't
Right.
sing. I couldn't even, and I like to sing just as I'm doing dishes. Like, this is who I've been my whole life. And I let somebody else tell me I wasn't good enough to enjoy an art form.
Yeah. It's and I would, yeah, that's so the ways in which we become smaller and
Hmm.
feel like we narrow down who we are. And I think for visual arts, that happens when we're so young. And
Yes.
like, but I love what kids make. I love
Hmm.
it. And I think that I mean, some of the best artists in the world are, oh, in my opinion, right? It's still my opinion, draw like they did when they were young, where it gets taught out of us and we have to kind of like come back to it, just like what you're talking about with singing. It's so important because it connects you to yourself. Like when
Yes.
you're singing, whether it's karaoke or doing the dishes, like you're connecting to yourself. And creativity is powerful for that. Like it gets us out of our thinking mind and into our heart space. You
Hmm.
can't go wrong, right? There is no right way to sing. And I so it reminds me, right, to hear you talk about that. It reminds me in the ways that repeat those messages to myself. Oh, you can't sing, so you shouldn't sing. And for me, and to really push that boundary for myself because I think you're right. I think that, and it's such a fun thing to do. Like I have a
It
kid who
is.
is. She sings at top volume in the shower, and I just love it, right? It just makes me laugh.
Yes. Yeah,
You
that's
thought
always
we're
been me. Like, but I also have a very early memory one time of because I was the kid, my family, I swear to God. Uh, so I grew up in, religion. I'm not religious anymore, but we would go to church, and my grandma and my mom were the type to be like, "Now, Missy, go sing that song for them. Like, just let them hear you sing that." And so I would, but I did it. I was that desperate for approval kid. So I was like, "Okay, shining star, let's do this." And then they'd be like, what else are they going to say other than, "Oh, that's beautiful," but great. I'm glad it happened because, like, I got a little validation, but I was always singing church songs.
But my grandpa was like a horrible, horrible, horrible person. I was primarily raised by my grandma, and he was around for the first little bit and then he was gone. But um I remember one time cleaning my room and singing and walking to the trash can to throw some trash away, and I was like 6, and he like lost his ever loving mind and was like, "Stop singing that shit." And then it became this huge fight between my grandma and him, and she was like, "You don't tell her," and she's like, "Missy, you sing." And now I'm like, I don't really feel like singing, but she's like, "You sing." And I'm in my room like trying to muster up the care to sing again. God, talking about singing's bringing up all this shit. But I mean, I think you're right. I mean, it's displaying your point very beautifully in that you are connected to yourself. Even the thought of singing brings up memories and connection, and I can see too it losing that part of me for 10 years, um, how it was just another piece of disconnection for me, because that was my whole life story, was disconnecting from my body systematically, one step after another.
Yeah.
And now I can see how going to karaoke and doing those things was a step in coming home.
Absolutely. Yeah. You've got a powerful story, and now I wanna do your self-portrait or have you do one, because
Man, it sounds
it's such a
awesome.
powerful thing. Yeah. So, it's and it like, you're talking about those memories and how we well, my whole question is how do we become who we are, who we think we are, and how
Yes.
do we take those layers off again to really reconnect with who we really are underneath all of the messages and conditioning and lived experiences that we've had that shapes what we think, and unless it's like loving and kind, it's not who we really are. And
Mhm.
so this is just one tool in the toolbox to help remember that, to help dissolve those false identities and limiting beliefs that we learned along the way in order to earn love or find safety or feel like we have enough value or belong in the world. So
Yeah. Will you tell me how you came to this path for yourself?
So I was always into art. It was really drawing and painting, coloring way outside the lines,
I love
was
that.
always was always what I was doing. It was where I felt most comfortable. I was terribly dyslexic, so I had a lot of trouble reading and
Mm.
writing, and
Mhm.
it was before dyslexia was a thing, and so everybody just thought I was not very smart, and so that was my identity, like, I'm just gonna be a home ec person. Like, I
Yeah.
like baking, so, wow, I'm gonna make a great housewife
Mhm.
and maybe a kindergarten teacher, and there's nothing wrong with being a housewife, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a kindergarten teacher. I have loved
Right.
every single kindergarten teacher that my kids have had and my own, right? And so it's an incredibly powerful, formative time in life, and I would have gone out of my ever-loving mind. I was so when I did teach for just a teeny tiny minute, 7th through 12th grade, and I just wanted to be drawing, right? I wanted to
Mhm.
be drawing and painting. So, I went to art school. I went down a very, very traditional path after art school, and getting into galleries, and that's great, but it's still a form of pretending because you show
Yeah.
up once a year, you, like, dress well or try to, look nice, and then, like, pretend that you're some I don't know what people think artists are, and I
Yeah,
just was
and
never.
were you creating with the audience in mind, or were you at least at that point even still creating for yourself?
Always creating for myself, but I
Good,
didn't know
okay.
it, right? Like, so I would have and while I was pregnant and after having children, I painted very differently than I had ever painted before or
Yeah.
after, and
Mhm.
I it was very feminine and very whimsical, and it was, like, one of the hardest, worst times of my own life because
Mhm.
I was going through my own journey of a sexual abuse history, which I had completely not known about, subconscious, and it came up in a little bit in college, but 100% when I got pregnant and the shit hit the
Mm.
fan.
Yeah.
And so that that work was really, really popular, which is so ironic to me. Well, I can see why it was, but people so to me, it didn't look because it's the same thing. I was talking about how we appear one way, on the outside, but what's really going on the inside is very much hidden. We don't talk about it. And I was certainly not, I was talking about sexual abuse to my therapist and my husband and his family, and a little bit with my sister. I wanted to be able to talk about it. I wanted to, like, you can talk about cancer, you can talk about illness, you can,
Mhm.
right? You can talk about these things, but you can't talk about that. And
Right.
so I wasn't talking about it, but I was painting about it. And I was painting about it in these really sort of subtle backdoor kind of ways. So it acted as a release valve for me, but I thought it was interesting that because it appeared really happy and whimsical, I still believe that there's something that people felt at a deeper level, at an energetic level, that wanted to wake up inside of them, whatever their truth was trying to bubble to the surface. I think that's where my work met other people. But most of the time when I'm painting for myself, because it's always about the process, people don't like what it looks like. So I mean, some people do. So what am I trying to say? When people are like, "Oh, I want another one of that," like, I could
Yeah.
never commission that way. So I would do commissions, but I'd say it's gonna be its own painting. I can keep everything about you in mind, and I'll do my best. And they still were fairly successful, but it wasn't nearly as satisfying for me. And that's when I
Yeah.
put the pieces together that I was always really painting for myself and not my audience.
Mhm. That's
And that's
awesome.
I just really think that when we give ourselves permission to make and create, that's we make it's beautiful, right? We love what we make. 5-year-olds love their drawings. They love them. They're so
That's so
excited
true.
because it feels good to make it. It doesn't matter what it looks like. There's something else that's happening that's really powerful, and we squish it like so many other things. So, like, I just think it's a really interesting way to look at how we give and receive messages to
Mhm.
those formative little kiddos.
So true. So when did you leave the gallery life?
I didn't leave all that long ago. It was probably 6 or 7, whatever 2019 was my
Okay.
last. And I was just really dissatisfied with that kind of gatekeeper middle ground, like separation from people. It just kept this facade alive that I didn't care to continue participating in. Even though I love the galleries and I love the people who worked in them, um, I want to see art everywhere.
Yeah.
And I want I want us to be sharing that side of ourselves. Whether it's dance or music or singing or making food or gardening or whatever it is, like, creativity is everywhere, and it's so important to start communicating with that part of ourselves.
Oh, I so agree. So how did you start doing the
Soul portraits,
yeah.
mixed media stuff. I had just been sued by my family and my husband's family,
Oh, shit.
so yeah, so,
Shit,
I
girl.
I was going through like, I had just kinda my own experience of sexual abuse was a 10-year process, right, of, like, unpacking that. During that time, my kids, 2 of my 3, were being sexually abused, and I didn't know it. And we were living near my husband's family, and we didn't know who it was. So it was like 3 years of figuring out who that was. And when we discovered that it was somebody in my husband's family, we had first my husband went to his father and started talking about it, and he was like, "Okay, we're on board. We just wanna get this person help." And within 24 hours, my father-in-law had called every single person we knew and said, "Me, Devorah, is, like, spreading all these rumors and lies, and don't believe anything she says." So he also called my father and said, You should find out what your daughter's saying to you. Please join this law about you. Join this lawsuit, yada, yada, yada." And that was the beginning of being served papers and a letter of excommunication saying, like, "You're out of the family forever. And everyone agrees with us on this." And I was just like devastated. And I was really ashamed, right? Like, I had
Mhm.
already felt so badly about myself. I was like, wow, I'm unforgivable and everybody hates me. And I don't know how to live with that with that. I just have no concept of what do I do? I loved my family and I still do. And I couldn't it took me a long time to move out of feeling so awful and guilty and shameful into like, wait a second. Nobody actually called me to talk about this. Nobody actually
Right.
I was just served papers. Who sues their own kid? Like what the hell? And I realized again that the topic of sexual abuse is so dangerous. It's so
Mhm.
scary and nobody handled it well. And absolutely including me. Like I had for a moment when I got that feeling, I don't know if it's my dad. I have no idea. I have a feeling, but I have no evidence, and I never confronted him because first I knew it wouldn't go very well, and what's the point? And so I just worked through it on my own. I tried to talk with my sister about it, and when I landed on my dad, I was like, I don't want to impact her relationship with him or my brother's relationship with him. The who doesn't matter. And they really didn't like that. They felt like I was being super manipulative and that ended my relationship with them. So I just like it's a tricky thing and it's hard to lose family under those kinds of circumstances. It's
Yeah.
hard to be estranged. And also I refuse to not be who I am. So it's to answer your question, I was in my studio. That was long-winded. I was in my studio with like those legal papers and the letter of excommunication and all of these cards, love letters, beautiful family photographs. And I ripped them all up and put them on a canvas. And about 4 or 5 hours into the process, I was like, oh, holy shit, I'm disassembling and reassembling my story. And I just felt like this tremendous sense of relief. And a question popped into my head like, who am I really? And does their opinion of me make it so? Is it real? Is that true? And I was like, well, where did they get those messages? And where did those people get those messages? And it's just a chain, right? We're just like puppets on a string. And for generations of fear and if we had been able to talk about it, it all could have gone differently. But
Yeah.
why couldn't we talk about it? Why is this so threatening? Because it's nobody or like this very delineated idea of like good and bad, evil and pure. And
Mhm.
I was such an unhappy kid. I made horrible decisions about like choices like leaving my body and feeling like a vessel of like anybody could do anything they wanted to me because I didn't have any sense of value. And
Yeah.
so, like, where did those messages come from? And when I was so young, I was asking my brother, like, does he have a rotten apple inside of his tummy the way I did? Like, what little 5-year-old says that and why?
Mhm. Yeah.
So, so just really unpacking, like, where did I get those messages? What are they about? Why are people so afraid? And can I do it differently? And of course, when I found out about my kids, like I was never going to put that underneath the rug. I got to see firsthand, like there was that choice. We figured out who it was because my son started acting really strange in when this person came on a family vacation. And then when he left, um, the behavior like went down again. So we knew who it was based on that. And it would have been so easy to not say anything. And we didn't for
Right.
like 3.5 weeks. And then we had a barbecue and the behavior was just so much worse. And I'm like, my God, we can't ignore this. Like we can't. I wanted to. It would be
Yeah.
really much more convenient if it all just like went away. And we, because you don't want to lose the people you love.
Well, and more than that, I think when you're faced with a situation like that, as parents, it's so fucking easy for us to feel our own shame and our own fear any time our children are experiencing anything, and it becomes about us. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
truth. What am I going to lose? What are people going to think about me? I can't live with the fact that I quote unquote let this happen. I don't believe that, but I think
Right,
that's what
right,
we
right.
do to ourselves.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, like I think it's important to unpack that a little bit because like there are lots of things that make it really easy in parenting in general, but especially when you're dealing with something that serious to just like hide from it. I mean, shit, I do that with medical stuff, like where I'm like, I'm sure it's fine. Like my intuition's like, it's not fine. Like my son had rheumatic fever when he was in 5th grade. And um I knew something was wrong. I Googled it. He had all like I found one article someone wrote about their experience with rheumatic fever. And I was like, no, surely that's not it. I knew immediately. But he was waking me up in the middle of the night every night for days, like screaming in pain. But ibuprofen would take it away and he'd go back to sleep and he was fine. Like he'd have some pain during the day, but like he
Yeah.
could take ibuprofen, it went away, which is like classic markers of rheumatic fever. But I was stressed out, tired, overwhelmed. I had um a little girl who I think she was 3 at the time. Like, I was just fucking done with life at that point. Like, I was
Get it.
overwhelmed, and I was like, "No, I'm sure it's fine," and I did that for a few days until I finally talked my current husband and ex-husband taking him together because I just didn't have it, and then boom, he had it, and I was like, "I fucking knew it." But, like, I
Yeah.
beat myself up over that forever because we were very lucky, and he did not get any heart complications from that. Like, really no long-lasting complications, but he could have, and I was so mad at myself because I fucking knew. I knew that's what but
Yeah.
it's so rare, and I was tired, so, I mean, that's just what we do as parents. Anyway, I didn't mean to go down that but, like.
N I'm so glad you did because that, like, self-perpetuating, like, guilt and shame and criticism, right? All that judgment, it doesn't serve anyone, and it's
Mm-mm.
so easy to do.
So easy.
It's
So easy.
so easy. Yeah.
And then to take it a step further, I can see how you and your sweet little inner child were battling too about telling your own story because, you know, it sounds to me like you received a lot of the same programming that I did. And I think it's actually really common no matter what our childhood looks like. But like,
Uh-huh.
especially if you're anywhere near my age, we are made to feel so insignificant and so much of the problem, like anytime a parent's dysregulated, it's absolutely your fucking fault. And I
Oh my
was kind of told that explicitly. Some people pick that up implicitly, but like, I think struggling through the loss of both sides of your family in this manner, you feel so much like I'm in trouble. I'm not a good girl.
Yeah.
Like it just perpetuates that cycle over and over and over.
Yeah. And that's a miserable place to be, and I think that I couldn't take it anymore. Like, I
Mhm.
just couldn't, like, so that it's a prison to keep perpetuating that message of not being good enough or being the blamed one, and I was really easy to blame. Like, people loved blaming me, and I was so mad about it all the time.
Yeah.
You said something in there that I've lost it because it was brilliant, and I wanted to go back to it, and hopefully it'll pop back into my head, but, yeah, so the how do we get back to, like, having a lot of compassion for ourselves and unpacking how we receive those messages and not having like, it didn't so the automatic thing for me was to blame other people. Like, I was receiving a lot of blame. I made a lot of terrible choices. So I just wanted to throw the blame
Yep.
out. And the more I was accused of things, the more I just deflected.
Yep.
And so I had to take accountability for myself. I had to take responsibility. Like, I had to look at it because
Mhm.
I was so afraid that if I started looking, I would be like, yeah, I am unforgivable and
Mhm.
I don't deserve anything. And instead, what I found when I started doing that was like, wait a second, um, I'm not bad, and nobody is. Like, So
Yeah.
my brother and my sister and criminals and prisoners, like, they're not bad. And so it started to just turn the messaging around in a way that was like, oh my gosh, this just like, no, I'm not condoning any kind of harm caused. I'm really not. And why? Like, what is the larger story and how can we address it in a way that doesn't perpetuate the harm? I mean, very few people are born attracted to young children, but they are. So, what the hell do you do with it? And so I've sat across from people who live in such deep hell because of it. How do we have sacred sexuality rather than like damaging sexuality? Like it's
Well, and you
this,
know
it's
what
a,
I really think too? I've kind of okay, because like if I'm being 1,000% honest with you, this is a new frame of thought for me. But up till like
Mhm.
the last couple of months, I've been very much like lock them up, don't give a fuck, fuck pedophiles, blah blah blah, right?
No, of
But
course.
it wasn't until I started to really unpack like the shame portion of that, because that's like the hugest work I've done in myself is understanding my shame. That
Uh-huh.
um I started to think I don't know that they really ever were in the beginning attracted to children. I think they had an intrusive thought, they
Uh-huh.
internalized, they got more
Uh-huh.
shame, and the more you hold that shit in, the bigger it grows. I don't
Uh-huh.
think it's about attraction at all. I think it's about fighting shame nonstop.
Yeah.
I don't think
Mhm.
I it to me it's like maybe there's like this 1% of the population that actually would be attracted to like a child or an animal, but to me it's like that's not about it's the same as rape not being about attraction, it's about power. To me,
Right.
my new understanding of this really is about like you had a thought that made you feel so fucking bad that you couldn't voice it to anyone and it
Ex-
grew. And then the
Exactly.
shame grew and it made the voices louder.
Uh-huh.
My voices told me different things, but, like, I see this too in people who call themselves sex addicts in general
Right.
or porn addicts, and it's like, "No, you just fucking like porn, and then you had
Uh-huh.
all this internalized shame about it." Like, what would happen if you just viewed porn a few times a week and you didn't fucking judge yourself about it? To me,
Exactly.
porn's whatever. Fucking watch porn all day, I don't give a fuck, but, like,
Right.
do it in a way that you're not gonna feel horrible about it. If it feels bad, figure out why it feels bad. Don't then maybe you are doing it too much, but, like, we're all just dopamine seeking in one way or another. But I've just learned how loud shame can get when you internalize it, and I'm such a proponent of shame dying in safe spaces. Like, if you can find fucking someone, anyone that's gonna teach you about how your brain works, because that's just your brain doing something stupid. It begins with those intrusive thoughts that are actually 100% against everything that your character really is. But when you're
Ex-
young and you feel like a giant piece of shit anyway, it's hard not to just pile on yourself. That's where I've come to lately with it. I mean, I don't pretend to have any answers because, I think it's fair if someone feels violent in response to something happening to their child and whatever. But for me, this is where I've come to because I was sexually abused and I mean, I had some anger after I had my daughter.
uh,
With the boys, it didn't bring up as much, but honestly, because of changing a girl's diaper and I found that, I don't know if I've talked about this very much, but, because of the way it happened one time when I would just lay her on the bed really quickly and go to change her, I almost threw up one time and I was like, "Okay, I don't change her on the bed anymore," because it just brought something up in a very visceral way, and I actually had to ask my husband to stop doing that as well, which we only did because then you didn't have to bend, it doesn't hurt your back, but I was like, "I don't please don't do it anymore," and he was like, "Okay." I mean, I explained it, but like through her very early years, I probably had a lot of anger. Since then, it's been more anger at just like the concept, because like family members that I know that have experienced it, it really did fuck them up for the rest of their life, and that makes me angry.
Right.
So I let anyone own their own shit with it, like if you want to hate them, if you want to plot their death, whatever. But for me, I don't want to sit around hating people all the time, like I'd hear something in the news and it would this is my response, and now I fucking hate some stranger, and I don't want to live like that. And also, I want to understand why I make such harsh judgments anyway. So, I just started to understand the shame piece of it. But it is devastating to think that people act on those impulses after so long purely because they had no one to talk to about it and they
Right.
fucking hate themselves.
Exactly. And that's a horrible place to live. And so I
Yeah.
have a lot of compassion for that level because you know what it's like. I know what it's
Yeah.
like. Like that
Mhm.
level of shame is absolutely devastating. So, and I don't, and again, like you, I actually felt so much rage. And I didn't want to shame that rage. I wanted to so it's about
Yeah.
accepting that like, we all have the capacity. I think we all do. I think there are some people who really don't. I don't know if, who are like, "I never kill a mosquito," and I'm like, "Well, I kill a lot of mosquitoes."
Yeah.
Um, so, like,
I
it's
rage
all
out, baby. I can rage like the best of them. Mhm.
So, like, I love what you said about shame, and I really believe that that's true. And when it becomes something that's unspeakable, like, it is absolutely crushing. Like, it crushes us. I felt so crushed by that, and not being able to talk about other people, talk to about it with other people it just compounds the shame. You're absolutely right. And so, I again don't condone any harm being caused, but what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to unpack that shame?
Right.
And, like, I did it because I couldn't tell anyone. Like, I tried to
Mhm.
tell therapists and they kicked me out of their office. So, like,
What the
because it
fuck?
made I know, it was crazy. It made them uncomfortable, but I
Mhm.
didn't know that. And so it was just another message of, "Oh, I'm bad. I'm so bad that I can't say this out loud." And so, like, when people come and work with me, like veterans, and parents of a child who committed suicide, those are 2 really big, like, guilt, shame,
Yep.
grief, loss, and the process doesn't require people to talk about it. It requires people to engage with it themselves, to self-witness with compassion. Oh, and step a little bit farther back from, like, the cesspool of guilt and shame so
Mhm.
that they can start saying, "Well, like, I was following orders," or, like, and in the moment when we have fear and, like, again, with people I remember working with this guy who had killed someone, and he never got caught, and he did so much work on his own because he had felt unbelievable remorse, and in the moment of he was just overcome with rage and anger
Mhm.
and violence. And so, but if we don't address it, like what you're saying, where does it go? So we have to address those parts of ourselves and we have to do it in a way that doesn't, because otherwise it's just going to cause more harm. It's going to come out sideways. It just
Yeah.
is
Yep.
because our body can't contain it. And so unprocessed pain, unprocessed shame, unprocessed anger, rage, it comes out sideways when we least expect it and don't have any of the skills to manage it. And so I want to get to it before it comes out sideways so that we can reduce harm and
Yes.
and and grow like self-love and self-compassion. Self-forgiveness more than anything and that's what my work
Absolutely.
was. It's not about forgiving anybody else and nobody else has to. Like it's about forgiving myself because I was living in such a prison.
Yes, absolutely. And man, just like, we kind of touched on this at the beginning of the conversation, just about like coming home to yourself and realizing like you don't have to change everything about you to be worthy of love and belonging. Like you are beautiful, wonderful, perfect, exactly how you are. Just
Yeah.
unbecome the things the world told you that you are. Let go of that shit. Don't try to be perfect. Don't try to like hit X marks the spot. Like there's no destination here.
Yeah.
Really, the freedom that I feel from being able to be like, nah, sometimes I'm still real bitchy. Like sometimes I am. And just yesterday, I lost my shit for about 15 seconds because some old guy was driving ridiculously fucking slow on a road that like is like 55 miles an hour, and he was going probably 15. I was pissed. I was like, "What the fuck, you fucking old ass?" Blah blah blah. I mean, I went off for like 15 seconds, and then I was like, "Oh, mama, what are we doing?" But like I'm okay with that. Like and it's still hard to say those things out loud because I know that people who aren't okay with it judge the shit out of me for saying it. And so,
Yeah.
yes, it's still sometimes I'm still embarrassed to be vulnerable. Sometimes I'm still just a giant fucking mess. And I might be that my whole life. I have a very dirty house right now. I have, a really chaotic schedule, all these things. And okay, I just I just work on the pieces that feel like they need to be worked on right then. But I'm very committed to continued growth and evolution. That's all that matters to me. But I think too, the compassion piece, that's it. The more you can extend to you, the more you can extend to others. I had very little compassion before because the blame game was my whole life. You know,
Wow.
um, what what really helped me was this book called the Finding Peace Workbook. And he broke shame, kind of like an IFS thing, but he broke shame down into different archetypes. And it finally clicked because I was like, that's what's happening in my head. Because my little archetypes fought all the time about what a giant piece of shit I was. But then this one little archetype called the royal, it loves to be like, but if they hadn't done that, I wouldn't do this. And so blah, 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 blah. So I was a giant bitch to everyone, or a better way to say that was I was very reactive. But, I was just living my pain very loudly in a way that looked very different than my siblings. But it just like I internalized so much that it just had to come out like all the time. And that's something I work on all the time just because I don't like to see somebody hurt over my reactivity. I'm like, oh, that didn't feel
Right.
good. What can I do? But I'm not going to hate myself for it either. Like, I just don't. It's going to happen over and over and over, and I'm gonna work for the rest of my life to be better about it. But like, eh, it is what it is. But I can love myself no matter what because I look around and I go, who else isn't fucking up in some way? Like we all are, and it's fine, literally. But
Right.
I think that's what really helped me even get to this different place with sexual offenders is that I love myself so much. And the more love and compassion takes up your being, the less room you have for anything else.
Yeah.
So I don't, also, I used to spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about stuff like that to feel that rage, and
Right.
that didn't serve me. I don't even need to think about it. Like, it just is what it is, and I just skip stories because what's the point? I don't need to know other people's shit, Like, if it's one thing if we're, like, connecting, but to just hear every atrocious thing that happens on the news to children, like, I don't need that.
Yeah, it's too overwhelming, and it
Mhm.
causes a lot of distress because I can't do anything about it.
Right.
And that I think the other thing that you're saying is really important is when we do get mad and have that outlet for rage, it's some kind of for me at least, it was some kind of justification to a tool as evidence, like I'm not as bad as that, right? And
Yeah.
so there's always like this hierarchical statusy thing that says, and so I think so much of that is our fear of being the bottom rung,
Yeah.
and
That's a great point.
especially in, like, racial tension, there's nobody wants to be at the bottom, and we always wanna keep somebody below us, and at
Mhm.
what like, how much are we willing to harm in order to stay, quote, unquote, "above" another? And, like, can't we even the playing field by taking that judgment away? And, like, what you're saying is taking it away from ourselves first.
Yep.
And when people come in with me and they wanna do work on it, they're like, well, I lost my point there, but, um shit, what was I gonna say?
You were saying reducing the judgment in yourself first, extending that to others, hierarchical, like,
Because, like,
that's the
when we
way to well, what I was hearing was
you're right.
that is the way for us to even have a better society. Because to your point also, that's classism in a beautiful definition too. If I can have you on bottom and make you the bad guy, then I'm
Right.
okay.
Right, and it's the same thing, like, so, um, there's so many my brain goes in a million different directions,
Mine too.
so, like, nobody is the bad guy, like, nobody looks like the bad guy. Who is the bad guy? And
Mhm.
and again, that fear, but we can't if we're in that parts work, right? If we're exiling parts of ourselves, we're we're trying to say, well, I'm only this and I'm not that, which in and of
Mhm.
itself it's betrayal, right? Like we're betraying and we want to say like this isn't acceptable, but this is. And I'm like, it's all, and you're doing this beautifully. It's all acceptable. And until we can, like, that is wholeness. Wholeness includes the icky stuff, and we all have it. And so there's no point in arguing whether it's there or not because it just is. Whether or not we act on it is another question. But we're much more likely to act on it, like what you're saying, if we're activated. So, like, let's talk about this stuff. And if you can't talk about it, that's fine. Like, I couldn't talk about it. But ripping paper up, especially paper that's your own materials, like, let your materials tell your story for you. Because
Mhm.
I would like hedge it, I would fudge it, I'd make myself sound a little bit better, but I always knew that I wasn't quite telling the truth about something I said or did. And so I was living with that secrecy or shame, or like I'm pretending to be somebody I'm not. And so whatever love or affection or acceptance I received, I could just dismiss because it
Yep.
wasn't the real me. And
Yeah,
so
because 'cause you're like,
how many
"Well, if you really knew me."
exactly. How
Yeah.
many of us are walking around with that?
I had
And
it big time.
exactly. And it like you don't actually receive anything from it because you
Nothing.
don't believe any of it.
Yep.
And so then we're filling up with porn or sex or shopping or drugs or alcohol or whatever it is, like whatever it
Yep.
is, right? How do we keep that down? And I'm like, we don't. Let's slowly, right? If we pop it open there, I mean, we can do that too, but like it's just slowly unraveling and allowing for those parts of ourselves to see the light of day. It's a game changer. We can do that quickly or slowly. And
Yeah,
whatever
even,
you're
like, just learning to just sit with shit, like, astrology on fire right now, and so this last probably
I'm like,
4
"Tell me
days.
more." It's been a hellstorm recently. Is it
Yes,
gonna
it
get
has.
worse?
In the
God.
last 4 days, I have just felt heavier, not all day, every day, but it's coming in the evenings, and
Uh-huh.
heavier and sad, just sad,
Uh-huh. Me
and
too.
I am really good at spinning out. Like I love to intellectualize and analyze so that I can go be mad at something and focus mad and not feel. So I
Sad.
was
Mhm.
like, what if we didn't question this at all? What if we didn't try to figure out why we're sad and we just said, I'm a little sad. I'm a little sad and it doesn't matter. Like that's okay. I'm not going to try to fix it. I'm not going to
Right.
try to numb it. I'm not going to try to analyze it. I don't care. Like this is just my state of being right now and it doesn't matter. It is what it is. And I was
Yep.
like, I mean, I wanted to know, like, am I a little more tired? Yes. So, okay, that would play a role, you know.
Uh-huh.
Am I a little stressed? Yes. So that would play a role. And then that was it. I was just like, okay, I'm sad. And then it comes and it goes over the last few days. And it does seem to be more prominent, like right before bed. But I'm
Mm.
probably just really tired, and it just is, and so I'm learning how to get comfortable with not trying to even rescue myself from feelings because 'cause I'm either dismissing or shifting or
Yeah.
numbing in some way.
Right.
Those are my patterns, and I'm just learning to be like, "What if we allow sad to coexist with something else?" Like,
Right.
I'm doing my normal activities. I feel a little sad while I'm doing my normal activities. It passes then. It just goes. It goes with the next cycle of, fluctuation. So that's what I'm really learning to do too is just allow and
Yep.
just live instead of constantly chasing some resolution in some way.
Yep. It's beautiful, Melissa. It really is. It's like showing in real time what it's like to just be with what's here. It's really beautiful.
Thank you. Man, okay, I have to cut us short because I'm gonna be on someone else's show in a few minutes and I gotta make sure this uploads so it doesn't fuck with my recording. Um, Tell us where we can find you.
All on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can also go to my website, soulportraits.art. And if you're interested in workshops, it's soulportrait.art/workshops.
Okay, perfect. I'll make sure I include those in the show notes. Thank
Cool.
you so much for being so
Yeah.
real and vulnerable and sharing such deep parts of yourself. I appreciate it. And I'm excited you reached out to be on the show because I just knew I was like, yeah, here you go. Here's your link. Let's not even play. Yeah, here you go. I've loved having you.
Thanks, Melissa. I loved being here. It was great.
I'm going to push. Good. I'm going to push stop. Hang out for a sec.
Okay, you got it. Yeah. Could you see me the whole time?
Thanks for coming to Emotionally Unavailable. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share.